I do not delete comments. I don't delete stupid comments, I don't delete offensive ones, not even insults. Disagreement creates better videos in the long run, and even insults help the algorithm, so go ahead. But there are some comments I keep seeing that I think are so cringe, and that's what this video is about. Most of my content so far has been about World of Warcraft, though I've made also some non-World of Warcraft videos in the past, and I definitely want to do more. And I say this because these comments only show up in my World of Warcraft videos. Sometimes they're not even related to the video at all. You read them and genuinely cannot figure out why they're there. So instead of trying to describe them, I'll just show you a few examples and you will for sure immediately get what I'm talking about.
World of Gaycraft, World of Womancraft, going to be called Gaycraft soon. Women in Charge Craft. They put a woman in charge of the story. What did they expect? They need to send the women employees to McDonald's. Again, a woman on the top and it burns. Retail WoW is for stupid adults watching Disney movies. The game died when it started being made for females. Play Turtle WoW. It's not made for gay people or for women. When the game is almost dead, they will fire the women from the story team. Maybe it will come back then. This is World of Gaycraft. There are no strong male characters left. I miss that.
This is what we're gonna talk about in this video. The people that keep commenting this kind of shit, you can keep commenting. I will not stop you. But I want this video to exist, so nobody gets confused about who I am. Because I think that has happened quite a lot. I do make gaming videos, not political videos, but I still don't want to be associated with something I am not. You have never heard me say anything like that. That is not because I'm holding back. I saw these people in the comments saying that this is the kind of shit I want to say, but I am afraid of getting cancelled. Not only I don't give a shit about getting cancelled, I am also way too small to get cancelled. Any kind of attention for my channel is good at this small size. And the thing is, these kinds of comments are extremely common on YouTube in general when it comes to World of Warcraft videos, especially among classic WoW fans. I know this, I am a classic Andy, I see my people. But no one says anything about this, like, ever. Basically, most creators land in one of two categories. You have people like Zario, for example, who react to many things and give the safest, most middle of the road take imaginable. And they just keep repeating it, and repeating it, and repeating it. Completely flavorless, stuff you've heard 1,000 times before and you will hear 1,000 more. Every take ends with something like, it's all good, some people like this, some people like that, every version is special in its own way. It's the same kind of philosophy some modern parents and teachers have, where everything is always okay and nobody is ever wrong and everybody is a winner in their own way. And then people wonder why their kid has a mental breakdown in their 20s when they fail at something for the first time. It's actually okay to have real opinions. It's okay to call stupid things stupid. It's okay to sometimes not try to appeal to everyone. And on the other side, you have creators like Pilav, who go in the completely opposite direction. Everything in Warcraft is ruined by women. Did you look at the dev team recently? Look, there's so many women wearing glasses and they're fat and they have colored hair. It's made for women now. Everything is gay. Just constant outrage and offensive brain rot bait. But at the end of the day, it's the same empty content, just with extra sugar on top, just a bit more spicy. They still don't actually say anything. There is no real argumentation there. There's not a discussion. They just say keywords, they just farm reactions, drop a few trigger keywords, and the brains of the guys typing those kinds of comments activate. Yes, fuck women, women bad, man good, juicy man, big strong man, man, healthy man, only man. Actually gay stuff, like, that's gay. I do hate the modern retail lore, the modern vibe. I think it's not masculine, I think it's not mature, like, at all, not anymore. And I dislike that. I would like that to come back. Am I stupid enough to go, it's because of the females? No. We will talk about that, about the lore itself in a second. But first, let's address the more important stuff, the real world bullshit. Do you realize that the best, like objectively the best Warcraft novels and pieces of lore like The Rise of the Lich King, War Crimes, Sylvanas, Before the Storm, and some of the best bits of lore that Warcraft ever saw were written by Christie Golden, right? Take a good long look at this picture. Try not to scream, I know, it's a woman. Not a big, strong, hairy man. I know that's what some of you prefer, but this is the person that wrote Rise of the Lich King. This is not like a big shock though. That's the thing, she is very well known. She has played a huge part of the Warcraft lore, mostly when the lore was actually at its best. She was fired though. She does not longer work with Blizzard. She does not longer work on the story. On the other hand, guess what? The story is cringe as fuck right now, and lame, and tasteless, and boring. And guess who is in charge? Big, manly, hairy Chris Metzen. Look, I absolutely love the stuff he made in the past. Of course I do. I made that completely clear. I said it multiple times. But how is the lore with this man in charge right now? At this exact fucking moment. I'm not asking how you feel about Chris Metzen, not how you feel about past lore. How do you feel about the lore at this exact moment when the manly man is in charge? That's the only answer that matters. For one reason or another, the lore is absolutely dog shit.
But Chris Metzen is probably not really in charge. It's some woman writing the story.
This might sound insane, but I saw this kind of comment a few times as well. First of all, again, you don't actually know anything, and I don't either. By that logic, maybe Chris Metzen was not actually the leader of the story during Legion either, or during Warcraft 3. Maybe never. But let's keep talking about men and women. What is the absolute most dogshit expansion from all points of view, including the lore? Shadowlands. Yes, Shadowlands. Well, the woman in charge of that story was Steve Denuser. Wait, Steve Denuser? The fuck? That sounds like a man. God damn, it is a man. He has the beard and all of that manly stuff. Why isn't the lore good? It's the women. It's the women he worked with. They pushed him. While the women were aggressed sexually, like this is a known fact, while they were aggressed sexually non-stop, they found the power within themselves to do the only thing they would ever want to do in that situation, and they forced Steve Denuser to write a story that he actually didn't want to write. He would have been so good. The Warcraft story during Shadowlands would have been so good if Steve Denuser would have been left alone, not bothered by so many women, trying to make him write a women story. By the way, Steve Denuser defended the story of Shadowlands, and he was also the one that worked on the story of Dragonflight as well. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you wrote Shadowlands and Dragonflight. If you believe they are good stories, I think that's enough so that you should not be allowed to write ever again. Not even emails. It's just too risky. You should not be allowed to write. Man, it feels wrong to even point out and explain these kind of things because it's also basic and simple. But these comments still exist. The reality is that, of course, we don't fully know what's going on, and no matter who is the leader of the story, they are still part of a team. But they most certainly have the biggest influence, right? They are the narrative lead. The only things we know for certain is that the lore of World of Warcraft is by far the worst now, since Shadowlands, to this moment, and the lead is a guy. Of course, I am not saying that the lead being a man is why the story is shit, or it's the man working on the story messing it up. You know, I am not a moron, but doing that would make more sense than saying it's the women, since the women are not actually the leaders of the story. On the contrary, Christie Golden is one of the best writers World of Warcraft has ever seen, and for some fucking reason, she was fired. Then you have comments like, the game is trash because it appeals to women now. Again, media illiteracy mixed with sexism. You have to be a certain kind of special to be able to think of someone like, I don't know, Tolkien writing the Lord of the Rings books being like, this one is for the boys, and for the boys only. And then he goes ahead and keeping that in mind, always making sure that the story is appealing to men as he continued writing. Of course, that is not the case. A good story will never focus on appealing to men or women. Will never focus probably on appealing to anyone. A good story is a good story to anyone who likes that kind of story. What you actually want to say is that the current story has more feminine elements and your simple tribalistic mind sees that as an issue. If Xal'atath, the villain of the last expansion, was a guy, it would still be just as bad. She is a bad villain because after multiple expansions of build-up, we still don't know her actual plan, or her real motivations, or who the fuck she actually is. There's zero emotional investment. It's just bad storytelling to introduce a major antagonist and never properly explain who they are or what they want. We already saw this exact same problem with the jailer, and that sucked too. In the past, most important characters were men, and honestly, I'm glad that's no longer the case, that some women can appear as well. In a fantasy world where physical strength matters far less because power can come from magic, knowledge, faith, spell, shadow, or just skill, it always felt weird and immersion breaking that so few female characters were actually relevant. When you have warlocks, mages, priests, monks, demon hunters, death knights, rogues, beastmasters, witch doctors, and so many other paths to power that have nothing to do with brute strength. The idea that only two women like Jaina and Sylvanas could rise to prominence just felt strange and immersion breaking as hell. Yes, there are a lot of badly written female characters right now because most newer characters in general are badly written. The real issue is weak writing, not representation. The fact that more women were added is of course a good thing. It makes Azeroth feel more alive and believable. I love Warcraft 3, but I wouldn't want to go back to a version of Warcraft where almost every important character is a guy. Sometimes the discussion isn't even really about women though, but about feminine traits like emotional vulnerability. People call Anduin cringe because he cries and shows emotion. I also think Anduin is a shit character, but not because he cries. He was literally mind-controlled and forced to commit atrocities while being aware but unable to stop himself. Of course, that would mess someone up. That's called PTSD. Real soldiers go through that too. Big tough men cry too. That's not the problem. The problem is that his story just isn't interesting. It lacks development, substance, and most importantly, memorable moments. This is a fantasy setting. I would love a story where Anduin struggles with guilt and trauma and breaks down because of it. That could be amazing, but I also want to see him grow, become strong, have defining moments, and actually do something interesting like his father. The emotions make sense. The lack of payoff is the real issue. It's just boring and bland. Honestly, some of the best male characters in Warcraft are extremely emotional. Arthas was awkward and shy around Jaina long before he became confident, and he's always extremely emotional throughout his journey. Kel'Thas was heartbroken when Jaina chose Arthas over him and cried, and again, over his entire story, he's extremely emotional. His decisions are all based on emotions. Yes, negative emotions, but it's still an emotional person. Garrosh Hellscream, one of the most badass characters in the setting, started off insecure as hell and ashamed of his father before he found his confidence. Emotional depth is exactly what made these characters interesting in the first place. The same logic applies to the homophobic complaints you see sometimes. We have gay people in real life, but of course, a universe with hundreds of races, across hundreds of worlds, it's cringe because we at some point meet someone that is not straight. Right. Those homophobic complaints are also kind of funny because they often sound so fucking gay. We need more men. I want men. Men. I want men in Warcraft. Big men. Strong men. Men. I love men. I want more men. Do not worry, King. I am an ally. You can be as open as you want in my comment section. I am always supportive. And then there's the Warcraft is Disney now argument. I don't know about this one. It's weird because I like Disney. Some Disney movies are clearly aimed at kids, but others are genuinely great films even for adults. Different styles of storytelling are normal, you know? Art comes in many forms. You can enjoy Disney and then also enjoy Doom or Warhammer. That's what I do. My favorite game is Silent Hill 2. My favorite online game is World of Warcraft, especially the older versions. I love Warcraft 3, I love Doom, I love Painkiller. At the same time, I love Life is Strange, I love Disney. Soul is an incredible movie. That said, I do understand part of the criticism, because Warcraft does feel more sanitized than it used to, more like Disney, and I don't like that either. Not because Disney equals bad, but because Warcraft used to have a different tone. If Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or The Witcher suddenly started feeling like Disney, I would hate that too. It's about consistency with the identity of the setting. At the end of the day, diversity in the cast, women on the writing team, male characters being emotional instead of walking alpha male stereotypes, Andrew Tate enjoyers, and the stories that appeal to more than just 16 to 25-year-old guys. None of this makes a bad story. It's actually quite the opposite. The Witcher and Game of Thrones prove that perfectly well. Good writing is what matters. It feels stupid to give examples so people can see that those things do not make the story bad, but this is where we are now. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to support the channel, you can also follow me on Twitch. Link on the screen and the description right now. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. It means so much, and until the next time, peace.